Hello, this is Jim Stockstill bringing you another teaching from the program entitled The Handwriting on the Wall. It's the purpose of this program to take end-time events and relate them to Bible prophecy. So, what we're going to discuss today is Daniel chapter 9. Now, I've talked to you before that this is the end times. And one scripture, if you don't believe it's the end times, is you need to go to Ezekiel chapter 38, read 37, 38, 39. It talks about Israel being dispersed throughout the nations of the world. It talks about in the last days, dry bones, the dry bones, the head bone connected to the neck bone connected to the, and it goes on, the old song does, but Israel would be rejoined as a nation in the last days, and then in 1948 it became a nation after being dispersed throughout the whole world. Israel is the most important country in the world. Israel is God's country. God chose Israel. He didn't choose Missouri, and he didn't choose Connecticut, but he chose Israel to be the center of this earth, and he chose the Jewish people. Now, we may have chose somebody else, but that's who God chose, and they are the people of God. We have been grafted in. The first converts were Jewish people. The first Christians were Jewish. So we need not forget that. And our Bible comes, all of it comes from Jewish authors. I think there's only one, Luke may have been the only Gentile, or Mark, I can't remember which one it was, the only Gentile to even contribute to the writings that we use for our Bible. So anyhow, Israel is the last, when they shows that it's the end time by the regathering of Israel into a nation. Now, another scripture that is so important, and I'm going to talk to you first about it, is Daniel's vision of 70 weeks. And that was 70 weeks of years. 70 weeks of years. So 70 weeks of years would be 70 times 7. Or, was that 490 years? For everything to be finished. For the end of the all transgressions against God and against man to be finished. For the all our sins to be taken care of, and for His holy covenant to be established. This is what actually finished transgressions was number one for the 70 weeks. Make an end of sins, make reconciliation for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, and anoint the most holy place, the Temple Mount. I'm just going to give you an overall summary right now. The 70 weeks. Now there was a prototype of the 70 weeks when Israel was taken and Daniel was taken into Babylon, which is Iraq. And he was taken there for 70 years. That was a type and a shadow. But here's the way the 70 weeks worked. It worked, it says, from the time that the edict or the commandment was given to go out and rebuild the temple of God, which was destroyed, to the time that Jesus rode through Jerusalem on Palm Sunday before his crucifixion the next week and was hailed king. It would be 483 days, a year, 483 years. Now, that turned out to be 173,880 days. When you divide that by 360 days in the year, you get 483 years. I'm going to make it simple now. These are weeks of years. So the time that the edict was given to go rebuild the temple and rebuild the walls during perilous times to when Jesus was proclaimed king was exactly to the day 483 years. Now, that was 69 weeks of 7. 69 times 7 is 483 years. It's pretty simple. See, we couldn't see this. We couldn't see this 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Well, some scholars did, but it was told to Daniel that this would be sealed up until the very end, the very last of days, the very end of the days, that his scripture, just go away, Daniel, this vision is hard for you. And it's not for you, it's for the very end of days. So just rest and it'll be unveiled. Well, it's being unveiled now. Men are starting to see these things. So 69 weeks have already been accomplished. So that only leaves us one more week. One more week. Now, how does this week come about? Well, the Antichrist, who I've been talking about, and he'll be coming soon. He's on the horizon right now. It's all being set up. The kingdom is being formed. The Islamic kingdom, which is the toes of clay. Clay in Arabic means Arab. The word for clay in Arabic is Arab. So they're the 10 toes, you know. I know that Islam is going to be a major part of this beast that treads down. Remember, there was 2 feet in Nebuchadnezzar's dream, and there was actually, we always been taught that there was 4 different elements. There was gold, silver, brass or bronze, and then iron. But then there's a 5th, the very last kingdom, and we need to look at that. You need to look at that. The very last kingdom was the toes, and the toes of clay. It mingled, mixed. It's not going to mix good. It's not going to mix good with this. Islam is not going to mix with whatever it forms a coalition with. Some scholars are saying that 1 foot's in Rome and 1 foot's in the Mideast, and that they form a coalition in the end days, and that they won't mix, and that's what, and it sounds feasible, but I'll tell you, I know for sure that Islam is very much a part of this beast. It's not a religion of peace, it's a religion of murder, mayhem, rape, pillage, degradation, perversion. It has every perversion in the world. Inhumane things to women. In Africa, millions of young girls at 9 years old have genital mutilation to keep them from ever experiencing any pleasure with their husbands, so their husbands don't have to worry about infidelity. That's the way they handle it. So any of you real liberal people out there, you need to study what they do to their young girls, and they do it inhumanely. Sometimes without anesthetic, sometimes with a razor blade. It's horrible what they do to their women, the way they look at, view their women. But anyhow, I got off the subject there. We're talking about 70 weeks are determined. Now, what I want to do is read this to you a little bit. Now, Daniel had prayed this tremendous prayer, and he had interceded for his sin. He was in front of God, and he pleaded, God, forgive me for my sins and for the sin of your people. We have left what your prophets said to do. We have left what your law said to do. We have forsaken you, Lord, and we have been punished. As you said, we have been led into captivity. We have been led into Babylon. And I'm seeking you now because I realize that our 70 years are about up here in Babylon, and I want to know what the future is. And he prayed and he interceded and he poured his heart out to God. He interceded for his people, for his family, for his brothers and his sisters and his whole nation. That's what a real intercessor is. They say, we are sinful, Lord, and we have sinned, and America has left you, and we have embraced homosexuality, and we have embraced liberality, and we have gotten rid of the marriage and perverted the marriage. We are sinful. Please, Lord, have mercy upon us and deliver us, Lord, from these sins and bring us back into right standing with you, that we can be the nation that we need to be. But we have to admit that we've gone a long way. We've fallen a long way. This is not the America intended to be, and we can take it back. We've given it over to our government officials who are corrupt. Money has bought them out, and they are corrupt. And I'm talking about Republicans and Democrats. I'm talking about Tea Party. I'm talking about all of them. You can't stay up there within a couple of years and you're bought out. That's why we need short terms. 4 years and out. 4 years and out. We have a lot of great people in this nation who can run this nation. We have a lot of great people in this world who can run our nation. And they're Americans. You know, and they don't hide their birth certificates, and they don't hide stuff, but they love our country. So anyhow, he made this prayer, Daniel did. And he said in verse 18, "Oh my God, incline thine ear and hear. Open thine eyes and behold how desolate, how forsaken we are. And look at the city which is called by your name. Forgive us, O Lord. Please, for thy city and thy people are called by your name. Have mercy on us." And while I was yet speaking and praying and confessing my sin and the sin of my people Israel, verse 20, presenting my supplication before the Lord my God for the holy mountain of my God, yes, while I was speaking in prayer, even the man Gabriel, whom I had seen in a vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, touched me at about the time of the evening oblation. And he informed me and said, "O Daniel, I am come forth to give thee skill and understanding. At the beginning of thy supplication, the commandment came forth, and I am come to show thee, for thou art greatly beloved." He says 70 weeks are determined upon thy people. That's 70 weeks of years. That's 490 years. 880 days. 173,880 days are determined. And to be upon your people. And he said, what this will do, he says, this will finish the transgression. It'll make an end to sins. It'll make reconciliation for iniquity. It'll bring in everlasting righteousness. And it'll seal up the vision and prophecy. It'll fulfill the vision and the prophecy. And it'll authenticize it, if that's a word. So verse 24, he says, "Know that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem unto the Messiah shall be 7 weeks, comma, and 62 weeks." Well, score is 20 years. 60, is 60, and 2 weeks, 62. First he says it'll be 7 weeks, and then you add that 62 weeks. That's 69 weeks. 69 weeks. 62 and 7 is 69. The street shall be built again, and the wall even in perilous times. And no matter what was going on, they built that wall. And they restored the temple, and the wall around Jerusalem, and they restored the temple. And so that went forth. And then until Jesus rode through the street, that was exactly 483 years or 69 weeks of 7 years. You have to understand this. This puts us only 1 week away. After Jesus died, there was 1 week. Now we've gone 2,000 years now, and we're waiting for that 1 week. We're waiting now for peace to be made in the Mideast. We're waiting for a peace accord to be made in the Mideast for 7 years. That will be the last week of 7 years. will be the peace accord. And in the middle of that peace accord, the Antichrist will sit down in the temple of God and proclaim that he is God. And then that will usher in the great tribulation. And there will be such tribulation as hasn't been since the world knew has been on earth or will ever be again. He says after this 62 weeks and the 7, it doesn't say that right there, but after that, the Messiah, which is Jesus, is cut off, and the people of the prince shall come. So the minute that Christ, right after Christ was dead, killed, Titus came in 70 AD, 30 some odd years afterwards, 38 years afterwards, and tore up Jerusalem, tore down the temple, tore it down stone upon stone, threw it down, sacrificed a pig on the altar before he did that, desecrated the temple, embarrassed the people, and the people were dispersed for 2,000 years until 1948. So, he says, and the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy this city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined. Now verse 27 is big. Verse 27 is big. Verse 27 says, he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. This is the Antichrist. And we can go into this and into this and into this. But the 1 week is 7 years. In the middle of the week it says, he causes the sacrifice to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate. This is the abomination of desolation. This is when he sits down in God. Sit down in the temple of God in Israel and shows himself that he is God. I think this is pretty clear. I think I did it pretty clearly. I'm trying to watch my time and make sure I don't run over my time here. I may do another teaching on this right afterwards, but it's pretty clear. We're waiting for 1 more week. We're waiting for the last week. We're waiting for the temple to be rebuilt. This generation will not pass until all these things come. Generation